Hey, what's up guys? Today we will be going over 3 different programs, After Effects, Cinema 4D, and Buju. So you can probably already predict, but we will be making some 3D text in a cinematic, and I'll show you how to do that efficiently, quick, and how to make it look really nice. So I'm going to start by importing the cinematic into After Effects. I got the cinematic by using LC Effects on Call of Duty 4 PC. So I'm going to drag this into a new composition, and you can see it there. And actually going to time remap this and make this about 4 seconds, because just so I can speed things up in this tutorial. Alright, I'm going to click B, which sets the end for your workspace. My bad. B sets the start, and N sets the end. So click N wherever you want it to end. I'm going to go to Composition, Trim Comp to Work Area, and there we go. Next, I'm going to add this to a render cube. Okay. Make sure you go to the output module, go to lossless, and change this to either a PNG or TIFF sequence. I prefer TIFF because it's the master of quality. So click OK, and I'm going to save this in a folder I made just for this tutorial. Sequence, save. Make sure you save it in a folder though, not just in your desktop, because it'll create, well, depending on how many frames are in here, but 4 seconds, 60 frames per second. I'm pretty sure that's 240 frames, so it can get pretty messy if it's not saving in a folder. So I'm going to render this out now. Okay, once that finishes rendering in After Effects, you can well, I'm going to save this because it takes up memory. So I'm just going to save that, and we can exit that out. Next, we are going to open up Buju. Alright, once Buju is opened up, we can click Import Sequence. Find your file path in which you saved the sequence from After Effects. Mine should be right here, Sequence. Click Open, and make sure under frame rate you change this to the correct frame rate from After Effects that you rendered it as. Mine is 60 FPS. So click Apply and Close. So now you can see cinematic there. Okay, looks good. Next, we will click Track Features, and if your cinematic is really crazy and it's going everywhere, or if it's not that good quality, I would suggest you click Advanced and pop up this max search distance to maybe 40 and increase the sensitivity. But in this case, everything is relatively simple, and I actually tried this track before the tutorial, and these settings will work out fine. So I'm going to click Start. Okay, it's about done, and next, after it solves, or my bad, it tracks, you're going to go to Camera Solve. And I'm not too sure about what Optimized Camera Path Smoothness does, because I've tried scenes with it unchecked and checked, and I haven't really seen a difference, but maybe you guys can tell me in the comments section if you know about that more. So for now, I'm just going to leave that unchecked and click Start. It should be relatively quick. Okay, if I scroll through, everything looks really good. So the next thing you need to do is go to Scene Geometry, and that is Control G if you have a PC, and I think it's Command G if you have a Mac, but yeah. Okay, so firstly, once Scene Geometry opens up, click Add Chord Form Hint, and this is pretty much you're choosing where the plane is going to be set up for Cinema 4D. So if you wanted text to be around in this area on the ground, but you marked, if you set your origin and axes around here, then it's just not going to work out well, because things farther away tend to move quicker than things closer. So you want it to be relatively around where you want to put your 3D or text. So make sure you have origin under the type, or you could do this out of order, it doesn't really matter. Just make sure you have origin, x-axis, and z. So I'm going to start with the origin. So I'm going to go in the middle, because that's what origin is. It's in the center relatively. So I'm going to click connect selected. Click out of that so that you don't select multiple selections. Like if I held on origin and I went to the next one and I selected 2 more, then it would just really mess things up. So deselect everything, go to add coordinate form hint, and make this type X. So this is going to be horizontal going across this way. So let's see, these 2 points should be fine. And by the way, you can click multiple points by holding down the control button and then clicking the points that you want to click. So once you do that, click connect to selected, deselect them, add coordinate form hint, and make this z-axis. Z-axis is pretty much running along the depth. It's pretty much the depth of the scene. Not much else to it. So instead of doing Y, you're actually going to do Z. So I'm going to use these 2 points because it's going across the imaginary plane that you should be thinking of. Alright, so click connect to selected. Make sure you don't have any abnormalities up here, like 3 tracks connected. You don't want that. So 2, 2, and 1 for the origin. Looks good. Once you're done with that, click update coordinate frame and click close. Alright, so finally, we're almost done with Buju. We can click export and export camera solve. Make sure you make the export type, let's see, Cinema 4D, since we're using that. And let's go to browse and find the file path in which you want to save the file to. It's going to be in here, solve, save, and after you make sure it's C4D for the export type, go to scale scene by and make this 100. And then click save. And finally, go to export sequence, and this will automatically save the export and the file path that you opened up the sequence, so it should be fine. Yeah. So click OK. Okay, once that finishes, you can exit out of Buju. If you're not too sure that your track is enough, or if it's not good enough, then leave it open, and once you get to C4D, if things are messed up, they can come back and change your scene geometry or your track features and settings and stuff. So, but right now I'm pretty confident that this is going to work out, so I'm going to exit this out. Alright, so now I'm going to open up Cinema 4D. Alright. Okay, now that it's open, we can go to File, Open, and then find the solve in which you exported from Cinema 4D. Mine is right here. Click Open. And under scale, this is important, make sure this is set to 10 centimeters. Alright, and That looks good. Click OK. Now if I extend my zoom in on my timeline or zoom out, you can see that the track it's looking pretty good from here, but we can't really identify if it's good because we need to see the actual cinematic in here. So in order to do that, we can double click over here in this blank space, or you can go to File, New Material. Double click on the new material. Under Color, go to Texture, Load Image, and then go to the sequence that you exported from Cinema 4D. Alright. My bad, not sequence, the export. So this image is not in this document search path. You want to no. Just leave it like so. Alright, now go to this little white button with arrows sticking out. It's probably lights, yeah, the lights, and go to background. Once you make that, drag this new material that you just made onto the background. Now you can see everything is tracked correctly and it looks pretty good. Alright, so firstly we shall go to MoGraph and MoText, because that's going to create a text object for us. And you can see that it's not, the pivot isn't centered to the text, it's on the left side. In order to change that, if you want to, go over here to Align, change it from left to middle. It looks a lot better. Or it doesn't look better, it's a lot easier to move around and pivot. So alright, so if we scroll through the timeline, we can see that everything is tracked correctly and it looks pretty good, except it's pretty boring. If we render this out right now, it's nothing too good. So let's change the text. First of all, I'm going to change this to tutorial. Pretty generic, I know, but it's all I got in my mind right now. So Babe is new. This is a really good text. Although overused, it is very good. So, okay. Increase the depth a little. Maybe bring it like so. Alright. You can go to height. Make this a little bigger. You can go to caps. Under start and end, you can make these caps fill a cap. That'll spiff it up a little more. And maybe under fillet type, you can go to, there's a few different ones. I like one step, that's what I prefer. So if you render that out now, it's looking better, but the lighting is off and we don't have any textures on it. So first thing I'm going to do now is go up to my render settings by clicking this button right here. Under render or effects, click effect, add ambient occlusion and global illumination. These will increase your render time a tad, but makes things look a whole lot better. So we can exit out of that now. If we render this now, you can see that everything will be black, and that is okay. That's because we don't have lights and a texture. So let's make a light by clicking on this button right here. I can go to spotlight, area light, but I just prefer light because I'm not too good with Cinema 4D lighting, but this seems to work out. So drag the light up a little, and let's import a texture which I got from Call of Duty 4. I went in spectator mode and pretty much just looked at the ground and took a picture using fraps, and I went in Photoshop and kind of duplicated the picture a little to make the texture bigger, and I cropped it. So I'm going to double click down here and make a new texture. Click on this new texture and go to Texture, Load Image. Alright, now let me find this folder. Here's the texture right here. It's a 1080p resolution. Double click. Alright. You can drag that texture into the MoText. and after you do that, under projection, change it from UVW mapping to cubic. Alright. If I render that now, it should already be looking better. Yep, looking pretty good already. So actually you can see, I don't know if you can see, maybe if you put up the quality a bit, if you're not already in 720p, there's kind of a blockish line going through the text, and that's from the texture. So click on the texture and you can change these offsets and the length. So this is probably offset B, so if I move that up, then it should be better. So if I render that out now, yeah, that looks a lot better. Alright, I'm going to put a few more lights in the scene by clicking light and holding control and dragging. Maybe position this over here. This will actually be my main light for casting shadows, because if you observe in the map, the shadows are being cast on the left side of the object, which means that the light is on the right side. And I'm predicting that's going to be around here, so I'm just going to put that up there. That'll be useful for when we put a plane down there and set up shadows on the ground. So okay, well, talking about planes, let's set one up right now by going over to, or actually let's create a floor by clicking this light tab and go to floor. Alright, drag the not the texture for the text, but the actual video for the cinematic, drag that onto the floor. Go to projection, flat, change that to frontal. Right click on floor, go to cinema 4D tags and compositing. Here we need to uncheck self-shadowing and check compositing background. And that, when we render it, there should be no difference, pretty much, and that's okay. So we just need to set up the shadows for the lights. So in order to cast shadows on the ground, we need to go to the light, go to shadow, and under shadow click shadow map soft, and density, make that maybe 75%. If you have multiple lights in the scene, you might have to increase that amount, but actually my bad, I want the shadows to be casting from the other light, so I'm gonna none, go to this other light up here, go to shadow, shadow map soft, and make this maybe 80%. So if we render this now, we should see that we have some shadows down on the floor. Looking pretty good. You can already see the shadows right there, except I think the positioning of the light is kind of incorrect, so you can pan around in here, and let's move the light more this way, maybe a little more up. And this light, we can move this more to the left so that you know, usually the sun's pretty bright, so it usually gets a lot of the angles, whether it's reflecting off of other surfaces in the scene, usually lights up a lot of the objects. So maybe even from that light we can change the intensity to maybe 70-80%. Okay, so I'm going to go into the light with the shadows and make that 100. Increase that, and let's render. Okay, it's looking pretty good, except the shadows got too dark, so I'm actually, just make this 80. And let's see. You know, I could get really perfect with the light right now. It's kind of bothering me, but it's just a tutorial. I think you guys get the point, so let me drag that up a little. and it's looking overall pretty good. And there's one more thing we can do to make the text look better, and that's to add an HDRI to our scene. And an HDRI image is a high dynamic range image, I think, and it's pretty much a really high resolution picture that it's spherical and it goes around the scene, and it acts as a lighting source and pretty much gives reflections to the text. So I'm going to make a new material down here and click the material, go to texture, load image, and I'm going to find one of the HDRIs I have. And actually I'll either upload one to a uploading site and give that to you guys in the description, or I'll link you a site in which you can get one, but I'll do one of those. So go to Documents, Ocean HDRIs, and let's see, number 1. This should be fine. Okay, once you chose your HDRI, you can close this. Actually, you can probably uncheck specular because you don't need that, and go up here and go to sky. Now drag this HDRI image to the sky and right click on the sky, go to Cinema 4D tags and compositing, then go to, or uncheck scene by camera. Alright. So in order to have the HDRI reflecting and really putting some nice lighting onto this text, we need to change the material up a little. So I'm going to go to the material for the text, click on it. I'm going to check reflection, change this maybe to 25%. We can change it later, but it should be good. Alright, and I'm going to render this now. Yeah, that's looking really good. Yeah. Okay. Alright, well that's your tutorial on how to make some really good looking 3D text and Cinema 4D. Yeah. I'm not going to get into rendering too much in this one. If you guys want me to, just comment below. Pretty much there's two things you could do. You could save with the background in the cinematic. You could do that, or you can delete the background and delete the texture on the floor, and you can add something called Shadow Catcher. It's a free plugin which you can get in Google by just searching it up, and drag the Shadow Catcher. You can look up a tutorial on how to use that, but you drag that to the floor and save the whole file as a PNG sequence. It'll pretty much just render out the text and the shadows, and then you can composite that in After Effects and put that over the cinematic. So then you could kind of change the text up with curves, or maybe opacity. You want to fade the text into the cinematic and stuff like that. So alright, hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and make sure to subscribe and comment below. Alright, bye.